There is a point where wanting more stops improving life and starts taking it away. The danger of wanting too much. Desire begins quietly. It does not announce itself as a problem. It arrives as a suggestion, a small thought, a harmless wish, just a little more. When Lao Tzu observed human life, he noticed that suffering rarely came from what people lacked. It came from what they reached for endlessly. From the moment contentment slipped just out of reach, replaced by comparison, accumulation, and hunger that no achievement could satisfy. Wanting, he saw, has no natural end. The moment one desire is fulfilled, another quietly takes its place. Not because the world demands it, but because the mind has learned to measure itself by what it does not yet have. Lao Tzu warned that when desire becomes excessive, clarity fades. The eyes no longer see what is enough. The hands no longer know when to stop. Life becomes a chase rather than an experience. Nature, again, offered him a lesson. A river does not collect more water than its banks can hold. A tree does not grow endlessly upward without strengthening its roots. When growth exceeds balance, collapse follows, not as punishment, but as consequence. Human beings, however, often ignore this rhythm. They gather more than they need, thinking security lies in accumulation. They chase recognition, believing fulfillment comes from being seen. They fill their days until there is no space left for rest, reflection, or joy. And still, they feel empty. Lao Tzu believed that desire blinds us, not violently, but gradually. It narrows attention. It replaces appreciation with anticipation. Instead of living, we prepare to live. Instead of resting in what is present, we lean forward into what is missing. This is the danger of wanting too much. Life becomes perpetually incomplete. Simplicity, to Lao Tzu, was not deprivation. It was freedom. To want less is not to settle, it is to see clearly. When desire quiets, awareness returns. The ordinary regains its richness. What once felt insufficient reveals itself as enough. A room uncluttered feels larger than one filled with treasures. A mind at rest holds more than one crowded with plans. Lao Tzu taught that those who know when they have enough are already rich. Not in possessions, but in peace. They are no longer driven by comparison or pulled apart by endless pursuit. They move through life lightly, leaving space for what truly matters. Excess desire makes life loud. Moderation makes it audible. This does not mean abandoning ambition or joy. It means understanding that fulfillment does not increase with accumulation. Beyond a certain point, more becomes heavier, not happier. The way favors balance. When desire is modest, the heart remains steady. When appetite is restrained, the spirit stays whole. When wanting loosens its grip, life stops feeling like a race. Perhaps the question is not how to get more, but how to need less. And in that question, a quieter kind of wealth begins to appear. The way does not promise abundance. It offers sufficiency, and sufficiency, when truly understood, is enough. The house with too many rooms. There was once a man who built a house because he wanted to feel secure. At first, the house was small. One room for rest, one for work, one for meals. It felt warm. Every sound was familiar. When he returned home each evening, he knew exactly where he belonged. But as time passed, he began to notice other houses. Some were larger, some more decorated, some had rooms he could not imagine using, yet still desired. A quiet thought took root: maybe what I have is not enough. So he added a room. The house grew, and with it came a brief satisfaction. But soon, the silence felt different. The distance between rooms increased. He walked farther to reach what he needed. He spent more time cleaning, repairing, maintaining. Still, he built again. Each new room promised comfort, status, assurance. Each one delivered only a moment of relief before another desire appeared. The house expanded outward, but the man felt himself shrinking inside it. One evening, exhausted, he sat in a room he rarely used and realized he could no longer hear the sounds he once loved: the wind at the window, the quiet creak of the floorboards, his own breathing. The house had grown too large to feel alive. A traveler passed by the next morning and asked, "Why do you look so tired?" The man gestured at the walls. "I built all this so I would finally feel complete." The traveler smiled gently. "You didn't build a home," he said. "You built a distraction." The words lingered. That night, the man closed doors instead of opening new ones. He stopped adding rooms. He began living in fewer spaces. Slowly, warmth returned, sound returned, presence returned. The house did not shrink, but his wanting did. And in that quiet shift, the man understood: security does not come from having more space. It comes from knowing where you already belong. Sometimes, the danger is not that we have too little, but that we keep expanding until we can no longer feel at home in our own lives. The cup that would not fill. In a prosperous town by the river, there lived a merchant who was known for his thirst. Each morning, he carried a finely crafted cup wherever he went. It was made of polished metal, engraved with patterns of birds and clouds. He had commissioned it himself, believing that if the cup were perfect, it would finally satisfy him. But the cup was never full. When he poured water into it, it seemed to disappear too quickly. When he filled it with wine, the taste faded almost at once. So he searched for better drinks, rarer flavors, stronger brews. Each promised fulfillment, each disappointed. He blamed the river, he blamed the merchants, he blamed his own poor luck. One afternoon, while traveling beyond the town, he stopped at a small hut where an old woman offered him tea. She handed him a simple clay cup, unglazed and plain. He drank, and paused. The tea was warm, the flavor lingered. He felt present. Suspicious, he poured more into his own cup, then into the clay one. He watched carefully. That was when he noticed it. A thin crack ran through his metal cup. Not large enough to be seen at a glance, but enough to let liquid escape slowly, constantly. This cup will never hold anything, the woman said gently. No matter how much you pour in. The merchant stared at it, suddenly understanding. It was not the drink that failed him. It was the cup. He left the metal cup behind. In the weeks that followed, he noticed how often he had tried to fill small emptinesses with large wants. More goods, more praise, more certainty, all leaking away through unseen cracks. The clay cup did not impress anyone, but it held what it was given. And for the first time, the merchant felt full, not because he had more, but because nothing was slipping away. Sometimes, wanting more is not hunger. It is a vessel that has forgotten how to hold. The orchard of endless fruit. There was once a woman who inherited a small orchard at the edge of a quiet valley. At first, the orchard gave her exactly what she needed. A few trees bore fruit each season, enough to eat, enough to share. She worked calmly, tending the soil, trimming branches, resting when the day grew hot. In the evenings, she sat beneath the trees and felt grateful. Then a traveler passed through and said, "You could have more." He pointed to the empty land beyond the orchard. More trees, more fruit, more profit. The idea settled in her mind. She planted more trees. The orchard grew. The harvest doubled. For a moment, she felt satisfied. But soon, she noticed something new. Some fruit spoiled before it could be gathered. Some branches grew too heavy and snapped. She worked longer days to keep up. Still, she planted more. Each season, the orchard expanded. The soil grew tired. Water ran short. The woman stopped sitting beneath the trees. There was always something to fix, something to manage, something not yet enough. One year, a drought came. The water that once sustained the orchard could no longer reach every tree. Fruit shriveled on the branches. The woman ran from one end of the land to the other, trying to save everything. She slept poorly. She ate little. At last, exhausted, she cut down the newest trees. Then a few more. As the orchard shrank, the remaining trees grew healthier. The soil recovered. Water flowed where it was needed most. Fruit returned, less in number, but rich and sweet. One evening, the woman sat beneath a tree again for the first time in years. She realized then that the orchard had never demanded more from her. Only her wanting had. What she had lost was not fruit, but balance. What she regained was not abundance, but sufficiency. And in that sufficiency, the orchard, and her life, finally felt whole again. The traveler who carried too much. A traveler set out at dawn with a single bag. Inside it were the things he believed he needed: food, tools, a spare cloak. The bag rested lightly on his back, and his steps were steady. The road felt open, the air felt kind. As he walked, he passed others who offered him gifts. "This will help you," said one, handing him a finer blade. "This will protect you," said another, offering armor. "This will make the journey easier," said a merchant, pressing coins into his palm. The traveler hesitated, then accepted. Each gift seemed reasonable on its own. Each came with a promise. Soon, the bag grew heavy. Still, he walked on. When his shoulders ached, he told himself the weight was necessary. When his pace slowed, he believed the road had become difficult, not that he had changed. At a mountain pass, the path narrowed. Stones shifted beneath his feet. Each step demanded balance. The weight pulled him forward, then back. Fear crept in. He met an old guide sitting beside the trail. "Why do you struggle so?" the guide asked. "I need all of this," the traveler replied. "I might need it later." The guide nodded and pointed to the narrow path ahead. "Then you will never pass." Reluctantly, the traveler opened his bag. He removed what he had gathered, first reluctantly, then with relief. Coins fell to the ground. Armor clattered away. Tools he had never used were set aside. With each item released, his breath deepened. At last, he closed the bag. It was light again. The traveler crossed the pass with ease. On the other side, the road widened. The sun warmed his face. He laughed softly, surprised by how little he missed what he had carried so carefully. He had not lost security. He had regained movement, and he understood, then, that the danger was never the journey, it was believing he needed to carry everything with him to survive it. Desire promises fullness, but it often delivers weight. The more we reach, the further life seems to move away. Not because it is distant, but because our hands are already full. When wanting never rests, contentment has no place to land. Perhaps peace does not come from finally getting what we want, but from discovering how little we truly need. Enough is not an amount. It is a feeling. It is the moment the chase ends and life returns to where it has always been. Right here, the way does not ask us to abandon desire. It asks us to loosen its grip. And when we do, what remains is not lack, but space. Space to breathe, space to see, space to live.